The alien girl had always been curious about humans. She came from a world where everything was planned, controlled, and clean. On her planet, life was created in bright laboratories. No one asked questions about it because everyone knew the process. But humans were different. Humans were strange. For days she had watched them. She saw how they laughed, how they argued, how they touched each other with warmth. Something about them pulled her closer. They were not like the cold, serious people of her own race. Humans lived with fire in their eyes, but there was one question burning in her mind. She had heard whispers, small pieces of information, but never the full truth. She wanted to know, yet she was afraid to ask. Still, her curiosity was stronger than her fear. One evening, as the stars glowed outside the ship's window, she turned to the human who had become her closest companion. His name was Daniel. He was kind, patient, and always willing to explain human things to her. She looked at him with her wide silver eyes and asked softly, almost in a whisper, "Daniel, how do humans make new life? How do humans reproduce?" Daniel froze. The smile on his face slowly faded. For a moment he did not speak. He stared at her as if she had asked something forbidden. His eyes shifted and his hands tightened around the cup he was holding. The silence stretched between them. The alien girl tilted her head. "Why do you not answer? Did I ask something wrong?" Daniel cleared his throat. "It's not wrong, but it is not something we usually explain, at least, not like this." Her curiosity grew sharper. "But I want to know. I need to understand humans. You are so different from my kind. You must tell me." He shook his head. "If I tell you, you might not see us the same way again." Her voice was calm but firm. "Then let me decide that for myself." Daniel sighed deeply. He placed his cup down and leaned forward. "On my world, this is something very personal. But if you really want to know, I'll explain. Just remember, once you hear it, you cannot unhear it." Her silver eyes glowed with excitement. She leaned closer. "I promise. Tell me." Daniel hesitated again. His heart beat faster. How could he put it into simple words? How could he describe something so natural to humans but so shocking to aliens? He looked at her face, so innocent, so eager. He almost wanted to protect her from the truth. But she insisted. "Humans do not grow new life in machines," he began slowly. "We do it, with our own bodies." The alien girl blinked, confused. "With your bodies? How is that possible?" Daniel gave a small, nervous laugh. "It is complicated. A man and a woman, they come together. They join in a way that creates the beginning of life. It is physical, very physical." Her eyes widened. "They touch? They use their bodies to create another body?" "Yes," Daniel said, his voice lower now. "It is not only science. It is instinct, emotion, sometimes even love." She gasped softly. Her world was quiet, clean, sterile, but this sounded wild, messy, uncontrolled. "Daniel," she whispered, "this sounds dangerous." He nodded. "Sometimes it is. But for us, it is also beautiful. It is part of who we are." The alien girl leaned back in her chair. Her heart raced in her chest. She could not believe what she was hearing. Life created by that? It felt impossible, wrong, terrifying, and yet strangely fascinating. Her mind spun with questions. She wanted to ask them all at once. She wanted every detail. But her lips trembled and only one question escaped. "Do all humans do this? All the time?" Daniel's eyes darkened. He looked at her carefully as if weighing his next words. Then slowly he answered, "Yes, every single human who wishes to create life must do this." The alien girl's mouth fell open. Her breath caught in her throat. She stared at him, horrified, unable to speak. The room felt colder, the stars outside sharper, the silence heavier. Daniel waited. He knew this was only the beginning, and in her heart, the alien girl realized this truth was far darker, far stranger, and far more terrifying than anything she had ever imagined. The alien girl could not take her eyes off Daniel. Her silver gaze was wide, glowing faintly in the dim light of the ship's chamber. His words still echoed in her mind. Every human who wishes to create life must do this. She wanted to speak, but her throat felt dry. Finally, her trembling voice came out. "All of you? Every man and woman? You do this always?" Daniel looked down at his hands. He rubbed them together nervously. "Yes, it is the only way for us." Her heart pounded in her chest. On her world, reproduction was quiet, clinical, and safe. It happened in tall crystal chambers filled with blue light. There was no touching, no chaos, no danger. The thought of using bodies, Living, fragile bodies for something so great as creation made her stomach twist. You risk pain, she whispered. You risk death, and yet you call it natural. Daniel nodded slowly. Yes, natural, because it has always been this way. For thousands and thousands of years. The alien girl's fingers curled around the edge of her chair. She leaned forward, her voice urgent. Tell me everything. From the beginning. Do not hide anything. I must understand. Daniel hesitated. He could feel the weight of her words. Her people were known for logic and order. If she truly understood the raw, messy truth of humanity, would she recoil? Would she fear him? Still, she had asked, and he could not lie. All right, he said softly. But remember, you wanted this. Her breath caught. Yes, tell me. Daniel leaned back, his eyes distant, as if he were searching through the long history of his species. It begins with two, he explained. A man and a woman. Their bodies are different. Each carries half of what is needed to create new life. When they come together, those halves join. The alien's eyes flickered in confusion. Two halves, you mean? Each one alone is incomplete? Yes, alone nothing happens. But together, it begins. She shook her head. And you do this with emotion? Not in a chamber, not in a machine? Daniel gave a small, uneasy smile. We do it ourselves. Sometimes with love, sometimes only with desire, but always with our bodies. The alien girl stared at him in silence. Her world was built on rules, on cold science. Here was a truth that was wild, untamed, and deeply personal. She tried to imagine it, but the image felt too strange, too alien to her own mind. And when the halves join, then what? She asked, her voice faint. Then, Daniel continued, something begins to grow inside the woman. Not outside, not in a lab, inside her body. Piece by piece, cell by cell, until it becomes a child. The alien gasped and covered her mouth with her hand. Her eyes burned with shock. Inside, you mean? The child lives inside her body before it is born? Yes, Daniel whispered. The alien's skin rippled with shivers. She pulled back as if she could not sit near him anymore. Her voice trembled. That is madness. That is dangerous. What if the body breaks? What if the child fails? Daniel lowered his head. It happens. Sometimes the child does not survive. Sometimes the woman suffers. But still, we continue, because for us, this is the way of life. The alien girl's silver eyes glistened with something close to fear. She had never thought of humans as fragile. To her, they were loud, strong, reckless creatures who could endure anything. But now she saw a side she could not understand. Humans risking their lives for the next generation. She whispered, why would anyone choose this? Why not build machines like my people? Why not make it safe? Daniel looked at her, his expression firm. Because for us, it is not only about safety. It is about love, about connection, about sacrifice. We do not grow life in machines. We carry it inside us. We protect it with our own bodies. That is what makes us human. The alien sat frozen, her mind spinning. Every word struck her like a heavy blow. In her heart, a storm was rising. She felt horror, yes, but also something deeper. Something she could not name. She wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong. But another part of her, a quiet voice deep inside, whispered that perhaps this was why humans were different. Perhaps this was why they had survived so many wars, so many struggles, while other races had faded. Still, her lips trembled as she spoke. Daniel, if what you say is true, then humans are not only reckless, they are terrifying. Daniel's eyes softened. Terrifying, maybe, but also strong. That is who we are. The alien girl lowered her gaze. Her hands shook as she tried to process what she had heard. The truth was too much, too heavy, and yet she could not stop thinking about it. At last, she whispered in a broken voice, show me more. I need to see. I must know everything. Daniel's eyes darkened. He knew this was only the beginning. He knew that once she saw more, there would be no turning back. The air between them grew heavy, thick with silence. The stars outside the window burned brighter, as if the universe itself was listening. And in that moment, the alien girl realized she had stepped onto a path that would change the way she looked at humanity forever. The alien girl could not sleep. Daniel's words kept echoing in her head. The child grows inside the woman. She carries it. She protects it with her body. It was unthinkable. On her world, no one risked themselves for reproduction. Life was made in safe chambers, under the watch of doctors and machines. No mother ever had to suffer. No child ever had to fight to be born, but humans did it differently. When Daniel returned to the observation room, he found her staring out at the stars. Her face was pale, her silver eyes wide with unease. "You are still thinking about it," he said gently. She turned to him slowly. "Yes, I cannot stop." "Daniel, tell me again. Do all humans do this?" He nodded. "Yes, every human alive today was born this way." Her lips parted in shock. "Then your species is built on pain, on danger, on chaos." Daniel did not argue. He only said softly, "Maybe, but we survive." The alien girl's hands trembled as she gripped the rail before her.
When I imagine it,
A living being inside another living being. It feels like a nightmare. How do women endure it? How do they not lose their minds? Daniel sighed. Some do suffer. Some struggle, but most carry on with courage. They endure because they know what waits at the end, a new life, their child. The alien shook her head violently. "No, it is too much. Too dangerous. Your kind should have stopped long ago. You should have found machines like us. Why risk such horror?" Daniel's eyes grew serious. He stepped closer, his voice low. "Because without that risk, without that struggle, we would not be human. Pain shapes us. Sacrifice makes us strong. Our way is not easy, but it is ours." Her heart raced. She wanted to turn away, but she could not. His words trapped her, pulling her deeper into the truth she feared. Her mind filled with images, women crying, bodies breaking, children fighting to live inside fragile flesh. She almost felt sick. At last she whispered, "Your species is terrifying." Daniel gave a sad smile. "Yes, many aliens have said that before." The alien girl's breath came faster. She looked at him as though seeing him for the first time. His calm face, his steady eyes, she had once thought them kind. Now she wondered if that calmness hid something darker. She whispered again, her voice shaking. "And you have done this too? You have been part of it?" Daniel hesitated. His eyes softened. "Yes, I have a daughter." Her mouth fell open. "Then you chose this path yourself?" "Yes," Daniel said firmly. "And I do not regret it." Her body stiffened. She stared at him as though he were a stranger. "How could you not regret it? To risk so much? To put another life inside someone you love? It is madness." Daniel's expression hardened. "It is not madness. It is devotion. It is trust. It is love." The alien girl shivered. The word love felt heavy, almost alien to her. On her world, love was not needed for reproduction. It was a private emotion, not tied to survival. But for humans, it seemed to be at the heart of everything. She turned away, pressing her hands to her temples. "No, I cannot believe this. You must be lying. It cannot be true." Daniel stepped closer. "You asked me for the truth. I gave it to you. What you do with it is up to you." Her silver eyes filled with tears of fear and confusion. "If all of this is true, then humans are not just strange. You are dangerous beyond measure. You live with risk inside your very bodies. How can the galaxy trust a species like that?" Daniel's gaze was steady, unflinching. "Because despite the risk, despite the fear, we go on. And we always will." The alien girl backed away slowly, her heart pounding. She had wanted answers, but now she wished she had stayed silent. The truth was heavier than she could bear. She whispered one last question, her voice barely audible. "Daniel, what else have you not told me?" Daniel did not answer right away. He only looked at her with eyes that held centuries of human struggle. Then he said softly, "There is much more, but I am not sure you are ready to hear it." Her breath caught. The silence between them felt like a blade, sharp and dangerous. And in that silence, the alien girl knew. Her view of humanity had changed forever. The horror was real. The disbelief was endless. And the truth was only beginning. The alien girl did not speak for a long time. She sat across from Daniel, her silver eyes staring into the distance. The truth about humans had shaken her deeply, but something inside her wanted to fight back to prove that her own people were wiser. At last she raised her head. "Daniel," she said slowly, "you told me your way. Now I will tell you mine. Maybe then you will see why I cannot accept what you call natural." Daniel leaned back in his chair. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp with interest. "All right," he said. "Tell me." She took a deep breath. "On my world, life is not left to chance. We do not risk our bodies. We do not suffer for reproduction. Instead, our people perfected the process thousands of years ago. We create life in chambers of light. Daniel's brow furrowed. Chambers? Yes, she said, her voice firmer now. Inside great halls, glowing with crystal energy, new life begins. Two parents give a part of themselves, not with pain, not with chaos, but with harmony. Our genetic essence is taken, joined carefully by our scientists, and placed in a growth chamber. There, in warmth and safety, the child forms. No risk, no death, no danger. Daniel listened quietly, but his jaw tightened slightly. The alien girl continued. The child grows under the watch of healers. Every beat of its heart, every breath of its small body is protected. And when it is strong enough, it steps into the world. Whole. Safe. Perfect. Her voice rose with pride. This is our way. This is why we live without fear. No mother dies. No child is lost. We do not gamble with life, Daniel. We protect it. Daniel's eyes darkened. You protect it. By removing yourselves. By letting machines do the work, she frowned. Yes, that is wisdom. Why should anyone suffer when they do not have to? Daniel leaned forward, his voice low and steady. Because suffering is part of living. Struggle is part of life.
Without it, what do you become?
Comfortable, weak? Her silver eyes flashed with anger. Weak? You think we are weak? My people have survived longer than humans. We have built cities that rise into the clouds. We do not destroy ourselves with war. We live in peace. Is that weakness? Daniel met her gaze. Peace is not weakness. But life without risk is not life. You speak of perfection, of safety. But tell me, when a child of your people is born in a chamber, what do the parents feel? Do they hold their breath with fear? Do they cry with joy when the child survives? Do they sacrifice anything? She hesitated. The words struck deeper than she expected. On her world, children were celebrated, but it was a calm joy, clean and steady, not wild and fierce like the emotions Daniel described. Our people love their children, she said quietly. They guide them. They protect them. They do not need pain to feel love. Daniel shook his head. You may love them, but you do not fight for them. You do not bleed for them, and that makes a difference. Her hands trembled, though she tried to hide it. His words disturbed her, but she refused to let him win. Daniel, she said firmly, your way is cruel. Women suffer. Children die. How can you defend such a brutal system? Daniel's eyes softened, but his voice stayed strong. Because from that cruelty comes strength. Because when a mother risks her life for her child, she shows a courage greater than anything a machine can create. Because when we fight for survival, we value life more than you can imagine. Every birth is a victory. Every child is a miracle. The alien girl's lips parted, but no words came. She had no answer for that. The fire in his voice unsettled her, and yet it also fascinated her. She whispered, You think suffering makes you stronger? Daniel nodded. Yes. And that is why humanity endures. Silence filled the room. The alien girl looked away, her mind racing. On her world, everything was controlled, predictable. But Daniel's words painted a picture of humanity as wild flames, dangerous but impossible to extinguish. Finally, she turned back to him. Her silver eyes shimmered with a strange mix of fear and curiosity. Maybe that is why the galaxy fears you, she said. Because you carry danger inside you. You create life with chaos. You are willing to suffer, and no one can understand that. Daniel gave a faint smile. Yes, that is why many fear us. But it is also why we survive when others do not. The alien girl lowered her gaze, her voice barely a whisper. Perhaps that is why I cannot look away. Daniel studied her silently, his expression unreadable. And in that moment she realized this was not just a clash of cultures. It was something greater, a test of understanding, a battle between two ways of life. Her world's perfection against humanity's chaos. The war of ideas had only begun. The alien girl could not rest after her talk with Daniel. His words echoed in her mind again and again. Every birth is a victory. Every child is a miracle. On her world, life was neat, safe, and controlled. On his world, life was wild, dangerous, and born from suffering. The more she thought about it, the more her fear grew. She walked alone through the silent halls of the ship. The glowing lights on the walls cast long shadows. She touched the smooth metal, but even the ship felt colder now. Everywhere she looked, she imagined humans, billions of them, risking themselves to create life. It was no longer just Daniel's story. It was the truth of an entire species. Her voice shook as she whispered to herself, "If they all live like this, then humans are not only strange, they are terrifying." Her mind would not let her stop. She imagined a galaxy filled with different species, each with their own ways of survival. Some relied on machines, some relied on energy, some avoided risk at all costs. And then humans, fragile bodies, pain, blood, and yet they endured. They thrived. The thought made her shiver. "A species that accepts suffering," she whispered. "A species that survives by walking through fire. How can anyone stand against that?" Later, she met Daniel in the command room. He noticed the look on her face immediately. Her silver eyes seemed darker, shadowed with fear. "You've been thinking," he said quietly. She nodded slowly. "Yes, and the more I think, the more I fear." "Daniel, do you not see it? If your way is true, then your people are the most dangerous species in the galaxy." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Dangerous? Because we reproduce with risk?" She stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Yes, because you do not fear pain. Because you do not hide from danger. You live with it inside you. No other species does this. No other species could endure it." Daniel studied her carefully. His eyes held no denial, no apology. "You're not the first to say that," he admitted. "Many alien races call us reckless. Some call us monsters. But do you know what else they call us?" Her lips parted, waiting. "Survivors," he said firmly. "No matter what the galaxy throws at us, we survive. And that makes others nervous." The alien girl swallowed hard. His words struck her deeper than she wanted to admit. Survivors. The word carried power. But her fear did not fade. "If that is true, then maybe the galaxy has reason to fear you. A species that risks so much, that accepts suffering as part of life, will not break easily. You will fight when others surrender. You will endure when others fall. That is what makes you dangerous." Daniel's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "Maybe we are dangerous. But tell me, what species isn't when survival is at stake? You think your machines protect you, but what happens when the machines fail? What happens when the chambers break?" She stiffened. "They never break." Daniel leaned closer. "Everything breaks." His words hit her like a cold wind. She turned away, her thoughts spinning. For the first time, she doubted the safety of her own people's way. If their machines failed, would they know how to endure? Could they face the same risks humans faced every day? The thought made her chest tighten. She whispered almost to herself, "Perhaps we are the fragile ones." "Not you," Daniel's eyes softened. "That is not what I want you to believe. I don't want you to fear humans. I want you to understand us." But the alien girl shook her head. "Understanding only makes the fear greater. Every time you explain, I see more clearly how different we are. You accept pain. We reject it. You embrace chaos. We avoid it. How can there be peace between us when your very existence frightens me?" Daniel did not answer right away. He looked out the window at the stars, his face thoughtful. At last, he said quietly, "Maybe peace doesn't come from sameness. Maybe it comes from respect." Her silver eyes blinked. "Respect?" "Yes," he said. "You do not have to be like us, but you can respect why we are the way we are, and we can do the same for you." The alien girl lowered her gaze. Respect. The word felt heavy, almost too simple for the storm in her heart. But deep inside, her fear continued to spread. Not just fear of humans, but fear of what might happen if the rest of the galaxy truly understood them. She thought of other alien leaders, other councils, other worlds. If they discovered the truth that humans risked everything for life, would they be horrified as she was? Or would they see humans as a threat that must be stopped? The question hung in her mind, cold and sharp. She whispered softly, "Perhaps the galaxy is not ready to know what I now know." Daniel turned to her, his expression unreadable. "Maybe, but someday they will." The room fell silent. The stars outside burned brighter, but their light felt colder than ever. And in that silence, the alien girl's fear spread further. It was no longer fear of one human. It was fear of an entire species, a species that could not be broken. The alien girl sat alone in the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before her, but her mind was trapped in a storm. For days, fear had filled her heart. Fear of humans, fear of their ways, fear of the risks they embraced without hesitation. But now, something different stirred inside her, something she could not easily name. She remembered Daniel's voice, calm yet fierce. Every birth is a victory. Every child is a miracle. His words had sounded terrifying at first, but the more she thought about them, the more she wondered if there was something deeper behind them. Something she had overlooked. Daniel entered quietly. He stopped when he saw her, his face soft with concern. "You look troubled again." She turned slowly. Her silver eyes reflected the starlight. "I am, but not only with fear." Daniel tilted his head. "Then with what?" She hesitated. Her voice came out as a whisper. "Respect. I do not want to admit it, but it is true. The more I think, the more I see. Your way is terrifying, yes, but it is also powerful." Daniel walked closer and sat beside her. "Why do you say that?" She drew in a shaky breath. "Because your people do not only risk pain. You risk everything. Women carry life inside their own bodies even when it could destroy them. Men give their part knowing what it means. Both choose danger for the sake of a child not yet born, that is, courage." Her words hung in the air, heavy with honesty. Daniel smiled faintly, though there was sadness in his eyes. "It is not always courage. Sometimes it is fear. Sometimes it is desperation. But always, it is human." The alien girl lowered her gaze. "My people cannot understand that. We remove danger. We choose safety. But because of that, perhaps we do not feel the same connection. Our children are brought from chambers strong and healthy. But they are also distant. It is science, not sacrifice." Daniel placed a hand over his chest. "For us, it is sacrifice that gives meaning. Every child is not only a new life, it is proof of love, of struggle, of hope. That is why we fight so hard for them. That is why we endure." Her silver eyes widened as she looked at him. For the first time, she did not see danger in his words. She saw strength. A strange, frightening, beautiful strength. "You suffer," she whispered, "and yet you still love. That is what makes you different." Daniel nodded. "Yes, pain and love walk together for us. One gives meaning to the other." Silence settled between them. The alien girl stared at her hands, trembling slightly. She had always believed her people were superior, clean, perfect, logical. But now she wondered if they had lost something long ago, something only humans still carried. After a long pause, she asked softly, "Daniel, do women fear it when they carry a child inside?" He thought for a moment. "Yes, many do. They fear the pain, the risk, the unknown. But they do it anyway, because their love for their child is greater than their fear." Her breath caught. That answer struck her heart like lightning. She tried to imagine herself in such a position, carrying life within her body. The thought horrified her, but it also filled her with awe. Her voice shook as she said, "Then perhaps your women are the bravest beings in the galaxy." Daniel's smile grew, soft but proud. "Perhaps they are." The alien girl turned back to the stars. Her fear was still there, deep in her chest, but now it was joined by something warmer. She had looked at humans as monsters, as reckless creatures who played with danger, but now she began to see them differently. Not only dangerous, not only reckless, but strong in a way her people could never be. Respect grew inside her, strange and unwelcome, yet undeniable. At last, she whispered, "Maybe this is why you survive where others fall. Not because of your weapons, not because of your machines, but because of your hearts." Daniel said nothing. He simply let the words settle between them. For the first time, the alien girl did not wish to run from the truth. She wanted to understand more. She wanted to see what else humanity carried in its fragile, dangerous bodies. But deep inside, a warning still echoed. Respect was growing, yes, but fear was not gone. And she wondered, what would happen when the rest of the galaxy learned what she had learned? Would they feel the same? Or would they choose to see humans only as a threat? The thought chilled her even as respect warmed her heart. She turned to Daniel once more. Her voice was quiet but filled with new weight. "Perhaps humans are not only terrifying. Perhaps you are extraordinary." Daniel's eyes met hers. For a moment, no words were needed. And in that moment, the alien girl realized her view of humanity had changed again. Fear had not vanished. But now, beside it, grew something else. Something stronger. Respect. The alien girl had spent many nights awake, staring into the endless sea of stars. At first, fear had been her companion. Then confusion. Then a strange respect she could not deny. Now, as she sat with Daniel one last time, she felt something deeper. something close to understanding. She looked at him carefully, her silver eyes glowing in the soft light of the ship. "Daniel," she said slowly, "I think I finally see. Humans are not only dangerous, you are not only reckless, you are something else. Something more." Daniel tilted his head. "And what do you see?" She hesitated, searching for the right words. "I see courage. I see sacrifice. I see a species willing to walk through pain for the sake of love. That is extraordinary." Daniel's lips curved into a quiet smile. "Extraordinary, maybe. But we're still just human." Her chest tightened at his calm answer. Just human. Yet that phrase now carried more weight than anything she had known before. She leaned forward, her voice trembling. "Do you not see, Daniel? This is why your kind frightens me. Not because you fight wars, not because you build weapons. Those things are easy to understand. But this way you create life. It makes you unbreakable. A people who accept suffering cannot be defeated." Daniel's eyes grew serious. "Many have tried. None have succeeded." Her breath caught. The truth was clear now. Humanity's power was not only in its machines or armies. It was in something deeper, something no other race possessed. "The willingness to risk everything for the next generation," she whispered. "The galaxy does not know this, do they?" Daniel shook his head. "Not fully. And maybe it's better that way. If they understood, they might fear us more than they already do." The alien girl shivered. She thought of the councils, the leaders, the other alien races. If they discovered the truth she now carried, some would be horrified just as she was at first. Others would see humanity as a threat that must be stopped before it grew too strong. And yet, another thought filled her mind. Perhaps some would also admire them. Perhaps, like her, they would feel fear and respect together. Her voice was quiet but heavy with meaning. Then maybe it is not fear the galaxy should feel. Maybe it is awe. Daniel gave a small laugh. "Awe? That's not a word many would use for us." She shook her head. "But it is the truth. I have watched you. I have listened. You suffer, yet you love. You fall, yet you rise. You risk death, yet you call it life. No machine, no chamber, no perfect science can replace that. Humanity is a fire that cannot be put out." Daniel studied her face. He saw the fear still there, but also a spark of something new. Respect, even admiration. He said softly, "Maybe now you understand why we keep going, even when the universe tells us to stop." The alien girl lowered her gaze, her silver eyes glistening. She felt torn. Part of her still recoiled from the horror of human reproduction, but another part bowed before its power. At last, she whispered, "Perhaps humans are the most extraordinary life form in the stars." Daniel's expression softened. "Maybe. Or maybe we're just too stubborn to quit." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Stubbornness. Perhaps that is your true strength." They sat together in silence, watching the stars. The universe stretched endlessly, full of worlds and wonders. But in that moment she knew, no matter how advanced, no matter how perfect other species believed themselves to be, none were quite like humans. Humans were fire. Humans were chaos. Humans were survival. She turned to Daniel one last time. "I will carry this truth with me, but I do not know how my people will react if they learn. Some will fear you, some will hate you, some will want to destroy you." Daniel's eyes were steady. "And some may stand with us, because in the end, survival is not about fear. It's about hope." Her heart ached at his words. Hope. Another strange human concept. Fragile, yet powerful. Perhaps even more powerful than fear. The alien girl looked back at the stars, her voice soft but certain. "Then I will not call you dangerous anymore. I will call you what you are. Extraordinary." Daniel nodded, his gaze following hers. And maybe one day the galaxy will see it too. The silence that followed was not heavy with fear this time. It was filled with something new, understanding, respect, and perhaps the beginning of trust. For the alien girl, the journey had begun with horror, but it ended with revelation. Humanity was not only strange, not only terrifying. Humanity was a story of survival written in love, pain, and endless courage. And as the stars burned around them, she knew this truth would stay with her forever.